They told the resort staff I was just the event planner after I paid for everything with my own company's account. I stood there in the grand lobby of the Prescott Estate Villas in Napa Valley, holding 2 glasses of welcome champagne I'd picked out myself. One was meant for Liam, my fiancé of 4 years. The other, I suppose, was meant for someone who actually belonged there. Not me. The concierge's words echoed in my ears like a slap. "I'm sorry, Miss Kim, but you're not listed on the guest registry for any of the villas." I blinked, stunned, holding up the confirmation on my phone. The one I had arranged, the one I had paid for under my studio's name, Kim and Company. Design. I had personally booked the entire resort for Liam's family reunion. 40 guests, 5 days. Every suite decorated to match the family's lineage theme. A vineyard tour, private chef, and 3 catered dinners. And now I was being told I wasn't even a guest? I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned and walked out of the lobby, heels clicking against the marble floor, rage burning through every cell in my body. But if they thought I was going to crumble, they clearly hadn't learned a thing about me. My name is Jade Kim. I'm 32, Korean American, and founder of one of Seattle's top interior design studios. I built everything I have from scratch. No rich parents, no handouts, just grit, vision, and a hell of a lot of sleepless nights. That's how I met Liam Prescott. He was looking for someone to redesign the lobby of a boutique law firm he was consulting for in downtown Seattle. I delivered the final walkthrough myself. Liam was charming in that easy, practiced way that people from old money tend to be. Expensive smile, soft hands, designer watch inherited, not bought. I wasn't looking for love, but he was persistent. To be fair, Liam wasn't a monster, at least not at first. He was supportive of my work, fascinated by my world, and said he admired how hard I hustled. And when he brought me to meet his family in Chicago a year later, I truly believed he wanted me to be part of it. I was wrong. From the moment I met his mother, Patricia Prescott, it was clear I didn't belong. She'd smile with her lips, never her eyes. "So, Jade. That's different. What part of Korea is your family from?" Or, "You must be amazing at finding budget-friendly options." She always said it like a compliment. I let it go. Again and again. For Liam. For us. So when Patricia turned 75, and Liam suggested throwing a Prescott-style family reunion, I offered to help. Not just help, run it. He said his parents would be impressed if it was perfect, and I thought, maybe this would be my way in. Maybe if I showed them what I could do, what I've built, they'd finally see me as more than the outsider. So I poured myself into it. I spent months curating every detail, sourced artisan welcome gifts from Napa Valley locals, designed custom menus, flew out twice to meet the chefs, test the wine, and walk the property. And since the Prescott Trust Fund was reallocating assets, Liam's words, I fronted most of the cost through my studio. "We'll reimburse everything after," he said. "This is just about getting things rolling." But when I flew in 2 days early to finalize details, something felt off. Liam stopped answering my texts. I assumed he was busy with work. Then, the morning of the reunion, he messaged, "Just meet us at the villa at 5 for dinner. Everyone's excited." Short. Weird. Not like him. Still, I arrived early, as planned. I double-checked everything, then headed to the lobby to freshen up. That's when the concierge told me, "You're not listed." The Prescott family has asked that only invited guests enter the private wing. I showed them my name, the reservation. They looked uncomfortable. "I believe you've been removed from the guest list this morning," the concierge said carefully. "Mr. Prescott clarified that you're with the planning team." Planning team? I was still standing there, frozen, when I saw Liam across the lobby, laughing, arm in arm with Madison Lee, his ex, his mother's favorite, the woman I'd once seen on his lock screen, long before he had a picture of us. I watched as Patricia leaned over and whispered something to the concierge. He nodded and looked at me again. "Miss Kim." I'm going to have to ask you to leave this area." That's when I knew. They had planned this, but they had no idea what I had planned for them. I walked out of the resort lobby with my hands shaking, my breath shallow, but my mind terrifyingly clear. They really did it. They uninvited me from an event I created. After months of labor, tens of thousands of dollars, and countless hours of design, coordination, and heart, I was dismissed like some hired help. No explanation, no courtesy, not even a heads up from Liam. And now? He was inside, smiling with his ex, pretending I didn't exist. I sat down in the courtyard garden just outside the resort entrance, trying to stop my hands from trembling. It wasn't just about being excluded. It was the calculated cruelty behind it. The sheer audacity of erasing me from a celebration I had orchestrated with every ounce of my professional pride. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the dozens of emails I'd exchanged with the Prescott family office, all sent from my company account. Room confirmations, vendor contracts, payment authorizations. My studio's name on every line. They couldn't even host a wine tasting without my signature. But now they acted like I didn't belong. I remembered Patricia's voice last month when I suggested hiring a private chef from San Francisco. "Oh, Jade! Maybe stick to picking flowers and linens, dear. Leave the culinary choices to the grown-ups." I'd smiled and nodded. I smiled a lot around Patricia. But as I sat there, humiliated and discarded, I realized something. That smile? It wasn't submission, it was patience, and that patience had just expired. I opened my notes app and pulled up what I'd named just in case. It wasn't that I expected this, but after years of small jabs, I'd learned to stay one step ahead. The file contained a full list of vendors, key contacts, and contract clauses, including cancellation windows. Then I opened my email. I had 48 hours before the main event, Patricia's big anniversary dinner on the vineyard lawn. The one with the customized lighting, the 12-piece string quartet, and the video tribute Liam and I had spent a weekend recording, back when I still believed we had a future. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Jade," Patricia's clipped voice came through. "I was informed there was some confusion at the front desk. I hope you understand, this weekend is a family affair." I was silent. "We didn't want to cause a scene," she continued, her tone saccharine. "So it's best you observe from a distance. Maybe return home early." "You mean, since I'm just the event planner?" I asked evenly. A pause. "Well, you are a professional. This isn't personal, dear. It's just optics." I hung up. Not personal? They let me book the event, spend my money, plan every hour of their precious reunion, and then rewrote history to make me disappear. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't call Liam. I didn't drive back to the airport. Instead, I opened my laptop in the Airbnb I'd booked as a backup in case the resort ran out of rooms. I poured myself a glass of red and began typing. Emails, quick and polite. To the private chef. "Hi, confirming we're canceling the vineyard dinner Saturday evening. Thank you for holding the date." To the lighting team. "We'll no longer need setup. Feel free to release the deposit per clause 3.2 to the classical musicians. Due to scheduling changes, we're withdrawing the performance slot." Then the wine tour team. The hot air balloon ride Patricia had insisted on. The luxury transportation company. All canceled. All refunded. I hadn't transferred the final balance on purpose. It was standard for high-end projects to retain final payment leverage in case of last-minute changes. But this wasn't a change. This was war. The next morning, I decided to stop by the main house, just for a peek. From a distance, I saw Liam walking with Madison. She was laughing at something he said, her hand wrapped around his arm. My stomach clenched, but not with heartbreak, with clarity. I turned to leave, but froze when I saw it. Through the tall glass windows of the estate's dining room, I spotted Patricia, sitting with a laptop. On the screen, enlarged for an older woman's eyes, was an email thread. Between her and Liam. Subject: Final proposal. Switch to Madison? Below it, The first few lines were still visible. Once Jade's out of the picture, we can introduce Madison as the real fiancé. She'll fit in seamlessly. Jade's just a placeholder until everything's secure. My heart stopped. A placeholder? That wasn't a metaphor. I wasn't just being erased. I'd been used. And that's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated fraud. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, but because I was calculating. I kept replaying that email subject line in my head. Switch to Madison? And the gut punch of being called a placeholder. 4 years together, and I was nothing more than a prop. A temporary mask Liam could wear until his family's real choice was ready. Madison Lee. Of course it was her. Blonde. Ivy League. Her father sat on the board of the same investment firm as Liam's dad. They probably picked out her engagement ring over a round of golf. I'd been foolish, yes. But I hadn't been blind. The cold smiles. The skipped introductions. The family photos where I was asked to take the picture instead of being in it. This was never about me not being enough. This was about me never being what they wanted in the first place. So I stopped trying to be polite. And I started pulling strings. By 10 a.m., I had confirmation that the head chef for the big anniversary dinner had received the cancellation notice. The 12-piece orchestra, reassigned to a gala in San Francisco. The lighting tech team, gone. All the vendors had been under my name, my studio, my authority, and they'd been paid, barely enough to hold the weekend. No one else could step in now, not with less than 24 hours' notice. I'd built this house of cards. And now, I was going to watch it collapse, one smug, manicured hand at a time. But then something happened I didn't expect. As I was packing up my laptop to leave the Airbnb, my phone buzzed with a message. From Liam. Hey, can we talk? I stared at the screen. He had the nerve? Before I could reply, another message came in. I know you're upset. I didn't want to do it this way. My mom thought it would be easier if we handled it quietly. Quietly? You call uninviting your fiancé and parading your ex-girlfriend around quiet? Then came the final punch. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Madison and I are planning to announce our engagement tonight. I'll send someone to collect your things. I sat down slowly. He hadn't just replaced me. He was going to propose to her at the dinner I had designed. On the vineyard lawn I had booked. Under the string lights I had selected. With the family photographer I had flown in from New York. And suddenly, my plan to quietly sabotage their precious reunion didn't feel like enough. I needed them to feel it. I needed the sting to linger. So I made one final call. To a man named Andre. Andre was the owner of the vineyard where the anniversary dinner was supposed to take place. We'd worked together on several luxury events before. He respected me. Trusted me. He picked up on the second ring. Jade, is everything okay? I took a deep breath. That private event tomorrow night, the Prescott anniversary, I need to switch it. Switch it? To what? To a new client, I said, and I'll double their deposit. There was a pause. You sure? That family's been difficult, I smiled. I'm very sure. We hung up. I transferred the funds within minutes. The vineyard, the one where Madison was supposed to walk out to applause, where Liam was going to drop to one knee under fairy lights, was no longer theirs. It now belonged, for one night only, to a local nonprofit holding a fundraiser. A community dinner for foster care reform. And that was when fate, apparently, decided to really join my side. Because a few hours later, as I was grabbing coffee, I saw someone familiar step out of a black SUV across the street from the resort. A woman, mid-30s, wearing oversized sunglasses and a wrap dress. She pulled out a suitcase. And a toddler. The little girl looked exactly like Liam. Exactly. I froze. My coffee cup almost slipped from my hands. The woman walked into the resort lobby like she'd been there before. And the bellhop knew her name. That's when it hit me. Madison wasn't Liam's only secret. There was another woman, and a child. His child. Comment the number 2 if you want to see how I expose both of Liam's secret lives in front of his entire family. The moment I saw that woman walk into the resort with Liam's look-alike toddler, something inside me snapped. Everything suddenly made sense. The secrecy, the rushed engagement to Madison, the cold way they discarded me like a service vendor instead of a person. Liam wasn't just playing with my heart. He was building a life on lies. And I was about to set that entire lie on fire. The next 12 hours became a blur of focused execution. No more second-guessing, no more holding back. I started with the photographer. I had personally booked a world-class editorial photographer to capture Patricia's anniversary dinner. I knew he was arriving that afternoon and staying at the main villa. So I sent him a revised itinerary. A family emergency, I said. The new location would be a stunning vineyard 20 minutes away. We'd be documenting a different kind of celebration. Then I called the nonprofit. Yes, the foster care group that now had exclusive rights to the vineyard. I explained who I was and what I wanted to do. Quietly film a short segment highlighting their cause and community dinner. I'd cover all production costs. All I asked in return, one table at the event. For me, it was a small gesture, but symbolic. While the Prescotts scrambled to figure out why their candlelit vineyard dinner was double-booked, I would be dining with people who knew the value of truth, kindness, and earned respect. By early afternoon, the dominoes began to fall. Liam's texts went from smug to panicked. The vineyard says the venue's canceled. What's going on? Why are vendors saying you pulled the plug? Answer me, Jade. Don't make this worse than it already is. Worse? He had no idea. Meanwhile, I kept gathering evidence. Emails, messages, photographs, everything I'd seen. The email about switching to Madison. The dinner proposal plan. And now, a new layer. Pictures of the mystery woman and the child checking into the resort. But I didn't stop there. Remember Andre, the vineyard owner? He had security cameras installed around the property. For insurance reasons, mostly. I asked if he could pull the footage from a private tasting a few months back, a reservation under the name Prescott. He found it. And sure enough, there was Liam. Arm around the same woman. No Madison, no family. Just him, her, and the little girl playing in the vines. Liam had already introduced that family to the vineyard. Before Madison. Before me. By the time sunset rolled around, the Prescotts were in full chaos mode. I sat on the terrace of the new venue, sipping wine with my nonprofit tablemates, smiling as texts from Liam poured in. My parents are furious. We need to fix this. You've made your point, okay? Just talk to me. But I was done talking. Instead, I opened my Instagram. My business account had over 300,000 followers, high-end clients, designers, and industry insiders. I crafted a post using carefully chosen photos. A single shot of the vineyard, captioned, "Plans change, integrity doesn't." A table filled with foster youth and advocates, laughing beneath fairy lights. And one short video clip, muted but powerful. Me, walking away from the Prescott Resort with my head high, dragging my suitcase behind me. Within minutes, the comments started pouring in. But the real finale? That came right after the Prescotts finally realized I wasn't just making a scene. They were hosting their backup dinner, a thrown-together indoor affair at the resort's private dining room. No photographer, no music, cold catered food, no Madison either, according to the group chat updates I was now receiving from a very disgruntled cousin of Liam's who had secretly followed me years ago for design tips. And then, it happened. My phone buzzed. A forwarded email. From one of Liam's own uncles. Subject line, "Who is the child in Suite 412?" Attached. A screenshot of the resort's guest registry, clearly showing Liam had prearranged and paid for the mystery woman's stay. The Prescott family group chat exploded. My source sent me screenshots as fast as they could. Patricia was demanding answers. Richard, Liam's father, threatened to cut him off from the family trust. Madison? Gone. She'd apparently confronted Liam an hour before dinner and stormed out, her engagement ring left behind on a linen napkin. But the final blow? An alert from my lawyer. Liam attempted to revoke payments from your studio account. We've frozen the attempt. But here's the real bombshell. Attached was a PDF. Liam had tried to access my business credit line, using my login credentials. He hadn't just betrayed me personally. He tried to steal from my company. The moment I opened the PDF from my lawyer, I knew Liam had crossed a line he couldn't come back from. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. He had tried to log into my company's financial portal using my old credentials, ones I hadn't used in over a year. He must have found them saved on my personal laptop from the time we lived together. There it was in black and white, a failed login attempt at 3:17 a.m., followed by 2 blocked payment requests totaling $24,000. He wasn't just trying to erase me from his life. He was trying to profit from me on the way out. I felt a chill run down my spine. Not fear, but a clarity so sharp it bordered on peace. Liam had underestimated me for the last time, so I called my attorney and gave him permission to proceed. A formal cease and desist was delivered to Liam and the Prescott family by 9 a.m. the next morning, outlining attempted fraud, unauthorized access to business accounts, and defamation of character. Accompanying it was a summary of my intention to pursue civil charges if any retaliation followed. But I wasn't done, because if there was one thing the Prescotts cared about more than money, it was reputation. So I let the industry speak for me. I published a detailed blog post through my studio's site titled, "When Your Expertise is Treated Like an Accessory." I never named names. I didn't need to. I let the facts speak about event planning abuse, unpaid labor, and how certain families in high society treat professionals as disposable, even after using their services and money. Within 48 hours, it had over 1.2 million views. The post was picked up by 3 major design and business blogs. Several of my clients reposted it, tagging my studio and adding their own stories of being dismissed or disrespected by entitled clients. It became a quiet revolution of small business owners saying, "We're done being used." That same week, I booked 4 new high-profile clients and was invited to speak at a Women in Business Summit. And Liam? His fall was spectacular. The Prescott name no longer carried weight with his firm's board of partners. His access to family funds was temporarily suspended. Madison refused to return his calls, and according to what I heard, the woman with the toddler, she filed for full custody and was seeking formal child support. Turns out, she had been promised a future too. Liam tried reaching out to me again, once through a mutual friend, once through his assistant, and finally, a handwritten letter left at the front desk of my studio, begging me not to ruin his life. I never responded. I didn't need to. His actions had already taken care of that. As for Patricia, she released a vague, carefully worded statement about private family matters and deep gratitude for those supporting their family's transition. But it was too late. People had seen through the facade. The only legacy that remained was the truth. 1 year later, on the exact weekend I'd been meant to marry Liam, I stood barefoot on a beach in Big Sur. Not in a wedding dress, but in a white linen jumpsuit, hosting a creative retreat for women entrepreneurs. The ocean wind tangled in my hair, my voice calm as I led a workshop on boundaries in business and in love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, someone asked me what finally pushed me to walk away from it all. I smiled and answered, "They tried to uninvite me from my own life, so I built a new one where I belong at every table." That was the truth. I wasn't the event planner anymore. I was the architect of my own revenge and my own freedom. Comment the number 9 if you wanted that ending as badly as I did. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. You're not going to believe what's coming next.